It's been a few weeks since we finished up the burl top base project. Documented that through like 8 videos, I think. And I want to be able to do that for other clients. So the original board that provided the burl for that, I believe I can get 2 more tops out of, maybe about 3/16 thickness. But to do that, I need to be really spot on with my resaws. So I needed to go, I did my due diligence and checked out the bandsaw. I want to clean up the bearings, make sure everything's aligned and straight. And what I discovered was that some of my bearings were not so good. So this guy does not rotate at all anymore. I had some of them where the rubber gasket here was actually just separated. It was still rotating, but there was going to be dust and debris in there, so it was just a matter of time. I have a couple of them that are still rotating, but just kind of grindy. Those need to be replaced. So what do? Turns out, and I got a little education from my mechanical engineer son, these things are all standard. So this is basically a 608 RS bearing, probably most well known for running in skateboards. But it also provides the bearing for my bandsaw guides. So today we're going to go ahead and put the new bearings in and adjust them and get everything set up. I've gone ahead and torn everything down because I really didn't think that this was going to be a thing. But essentially this is a Delta bandsaw. It's been hot rodded in various ways by me, and one of the biggest upgrades was putting in bearing guides instead of the original steel guides that came with it. When I first got it, I had gone to the little cool blocks and used those for probably, a decade, and then went ahead and updated to bearing guides maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and that has helped enormously. That has helped a lot. So, but when I went to last do my, clean up and make sure everything was still aligned and perpendicular to the table, sometimes the bearings, they get gunk on them, so you got to kind of scrape them off to get, everything working. I noticed they weren't spinning so much anymore. Now the bottom ones were basically all bad. The top ones here were mostly okay, though one of them, the gasket had come and separated from it. So I went ahead and pulled everything out, used a little pipe cleaner to just kind of dust off everything. And the bearings that guide the back of the blade, both of those are good. There is essentially this same kind of structure underneath the table too. So I won't try and show that. This top one, it's pretty much a mirror of this. This top one will kind of show you how everything goes together and how we will adjust it to make sure that we are in a good place. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to basically take all these ones that are like either they don't turn or they're kind of gritty or the seal is like this one's like I can see the bearing when I look past the seal. We're just going to take those and we're going to throw these away. Like you could, theoretically it sounds like you can pull these seals out and you can repack them with grease and clean them up and get them going. But I just bought 50 of these for like $18. That's not worth my time. So we got 3 good ones on the top. All the bottom ones were bad. We're going to pull out a fresh one of this guy. They are all the same size, though I do see that these have a little bit different kind of profile on them. This basically has got like a little pin that goes in here. And then bearings ride on this and screw into that pin. and then we tighten it down. Now there's actually a washer here too that goes so that we're not trying to ride bearing directly on this plate here. I do have everything unplugged, so it's not going to like accidentally start and take the tip of my fingers off. And we're going to go do this on the other side too. I did clean off all the various parts, so we should get nice spinning action again. Now this is a carbide tip blade in the bandsaw. Also one of the best upgrades that you can ever do for your bandsaw. That is so much nicer than having to resharpen every 2 or 3 big cuts, which I was getting really bored doing. The only thing I do is occasionally I will soak it in some clean green to get the gunk off the edge, but so far I haven't had to resharpen or anything like that. So now when we set the bandsaw, right now it is coming from the wheel to the wheel, and we don't really want to flex that in any way, shape, or form. Like, let's try and align with the way it's coming naturally off the wheel, so it's going to roll better that way. The old trick, get a piece of paper, and then that gives us the distance that we want it to go. We want to make sure that we didn't change it any. And then we tighten these guys down. Now as you're tightening, it's probably going to wiggle a little bit, so just kind of keep it steady. And we are nice and snug. So now that shouldn't wiggle too bad. There's a little bit of play in it, but it won't move around too much as it goes through the wood. Now one of the tricks I found, they always tell you use like a dollar bill thick kind of piece of paper. This is a little bit thinner, but it's also a sticky note material, so when I put it around here, it doesn't go sliding off. Well, it does go sliding down, but it doesn't go sliding off the bandsaw blade. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom, which the camera probably can't capture and is actually a little awkward to maneuver down in underneath the table. But same deal, and then we'll be back. We're all back together now. All our bearings are rolling nice and smooth. We shouldn't get too much flex in here. So the board I want to resaw is this height. So I want my arm to come down to just over that. We want to make sure that we have the least amount of possible flex on this blade as supported at the, as close as possible to where we want to do. So the next thing is now I'm sure we're not perfect on the table, so when we check that, we are off a little bit towards the top, so we need to tilt our table this way just a little bit. So we're going to do that. There's a little bolt here at the back of the table. Your bandsaw will probably have something similar, and as we adjust that up, it should be tilting the table so that we are closer to parallel. There we go. Right, there we go. Misspoke. Tighten the bolt down will get us, and we look good there. Lock down the table. There are 2 levers on mine that do that. Okay, so now that we've got our table and our blade are perpendicular, we want to make sure that the fence is still perpendicular. In this case, mine has adjustment screws on the end that do that. If we're locked down, this is going to be our surface that we saw off of our guide, and it looks pretty good as is, so we shouldn't have to touch that. All right. I do like to give my belts a little brush before I do a big resaw. We don't want it nice and grippy. Do the same thing on the bottom one, which is actually much dirtier. New wheels is one of the, or new rubber on the wheels is one of the things that can also make your bandsaw feel like it's new again. I just did that a couple years ago, so they're in pretty good shape. All right. Now, next thing we want to do, I'm going to make sure our resaw guide, like the tip of that or the peak of that, is about where the blade is going to be. And we don't have anything conflicting. And then I think I can take about 7/30 seconds off of each. So we are going to set that up. And then finally, we'll put a little feather board there to keep this snug on the fence at the bottom. And then I will control the top. And everything came out pretty much as we had hoped. So these are about 1/4 each. By the time I've got them joined and then run through the drum sander to kind of clean them up, they'll probably be down about 7/30 seconds, maybe 3/16. But now we have 2 more sets of tops. So with almost exactly the same kind of pattern as we had with the original burl top base. I actually think these maybe are a little bit clearer on like the gaps in the, where I filled in with black super glue on the original. I don't think I'm going to have to do nearly as much of that on this one, though there is some stuff up here that maybe needs to be done. All right, so if this is kind of content you like, please like, subscribe, comment below, and I will see you at the next one.